Good morning. Got some meaty stuff today, so it might be a little longer, so stick with me. Back in August, I did a short video about the scientific method outlining the basic steps of observation and measurement, then questioning, developing a hypothesis, testing, and analyzing the results. Today I want to run through a brief history of this kind of thinking. And the scientific method is given credit for accelerating the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century, but that's really not where it begins. There's a document called the Edwin Smith Papyrus, which is a medical text from ancient Egypt dating back to 1600 BCE. I think it's safe to say that we as humans have always had this capability to think in this rational, scientific way, but we just don't. So imagine the kind of thinking is required to build pyramids with limited tooling, not just in ancient Egypt, but in ancient civilizations around the world. So the scientific method requires an ordered way of thinking that aims to strip emotional noise and bias out of the analysis we do of any phenomenon. It turns out that's the hard part. Let me fast forward a few thousand years though as we get into this. Aristotle is the ancient Greek philosopher. He outlined a scientific method that gives us the theory of empiricism. Empirical evidence is that which is directly observed and measured. Aristotle also taught us inductive and deductive reasoning, which essentially requires us to question even that which is directly observed in order for us to make sense of what we see. So observation and thinking really go hand in hand. Now these days we see a lot of these shocking videos and our emotional responses immediately are predictable, right? We jump to conclusions based on the very limited evidence provided by most of those videos. Because we aren't able to see and describe all of the circumstances surrounding what we see in the video, we aren't able to properly decide what really happened. So we fill in the gaps with whatever our emotional and experiential triggers give us. Back to history. Now, the 1600s gave us Francis Bacon, Descartes, Galileo, and Isaac Newton, all of whom devised ways of thinking and measuring and reasoning through the problems that they were interested in. And they took us in a different direction, kind of away from inductive and deductive reasoning and into quantitative analysis and direct experimentation. These guys brought mathematics to the game. Now, in the lean world, we're a little bit further forward. We tend to begin our historical analysis with Walter Shewhart, who in 1939 published Statistical Methods from the Viewpoint of Quality Control. And in that he introduced the Shewhart cycle, which he listed as a three-step process: specification, production, inspection. Now W. Edwards Deming was a disciple of Shewhart's and also the editor of Shewhart's book. He evolved that Shewhart cycle into a four-step cycle, and he labeled design, produce, sell, or get to market, and redesign through market research. And he wrote that up while he was working in Japan in the 1950s. From that, the Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers, they called this cycle the Deming Wheel. They deployed it through companies throughout Japan, but they relabeled the steps plan, do, check, act, in what Deming later called the corruption. So we'll pick it up from there as we move forward. Lots of interesting things to kind of tease out, since we give Deming so much credit for this plan, do, check, act, or plan, do, study, act cycle that drives problem solving in the entire lean world. So I want to kind of tease that out a little bit over the next few episodes. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.